The Pentagon did not tell President Joe Biden and other top officials about Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's hospitalization for 3 days, 3 U.S. officials said. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and other senior White House aides didn't know of Austin's January 1 hospitalization until the Defense Department sent over word. January 4, 2 other U.S. officials said. Sullivan informed Biden shortly after Dodd's Thursday notification. The officials said it was highly unlikely that Austin conveyed word to Biden privately before Sullivan's briefing. If Jake didn't know, no way the president knew, one of them said. Who would have told him of Austin's condition if not Jake? And if someone did tell the president, Jake would have been his first call. All officials and other people who spoke for this story were granted anonymity to discuss a sensitive issue. Biden held a cordial conversation with Austin on Saturday night, per one of the U.S. officials. The president has complete trust and confidence in Secretary Austin, the official said. A National Security Council spokesperson echoed that sentiment, noting Biden is looking forward to Austin getting back to the Pentagon. But the news of Austin's situation came as a shock to all White House staff, as they were unaware the Pentagon boss was dealing with complications following an elective medical procedure, the officials said. National Security Council staffers were surprised it took the Pentagon so long to let them know of Austin's status. The Pentagon didn't make the information public until Friday evening, notifying Congress about 15 minutes before releasing a public statement. This should not have happened this way, said one of the U.S. officials. The NSC and Pentagon declined comment. In a Saturday statement after an earlier version of this story published, Austin said, "I could have done a better job ensuring the public was appropriately informed. I commit to doing better. But this is important to say. This was my medical procedure. And I take full responsibility for my decisions about disclosure." Chuck Hagel, the former senator who served as defense secretary during the Obama administration, said the Pentagon absolutely had to let the NSC know about Austin's condition and whereabouts. "The NSC is part of your team, it's part of the family," he stated during a brief interview. "The president has to know where his cabinet members are at all times." General Tom Cotton, R.A., a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, said in a statement that Austin must address promptly why the White House wasn't informed of his hospitalization for days. General Roger Wicker, R.Miss. Sask's top Republican, called Austin's silence unacceptable and demanded a briefing on the matter. On Friday evening, as many people were turning toward their weekends, Dodd spokesperson May. General Pat Ryder announced that Austin had been hospitalized since January 1. His deputy, Kathleen Hicks, partially assumed some of his duties from January 1 until January 5, when he resumed his full duties, according to one senior Dodd official. But Austin's hospitalization was a closely guarded secret, kept from even senior Pentagon officials and congressional leaders, until just before the public statement, according to 9 Dodd officials and 2 congressional aides. Some Pentagon officials only learned of Austin's situation through Ryder's news release. One of the Dodd officials said their office was told by Austin's aides that the secretary was working from home for the week. The delayed news for days afterward, and the fact H. relinquished some of his duties as Pentagon chief, was met with outrage by members of the press Friday. But the frustration extended beyond the Fourth Estate to the Pentagon's E-ring and the halls of Congress. "The vast majority of leaders were unaware," said one U.S. official. Austin's hospitalization comes at a tumultuous time for the military, as U.S. forces face near-daily attacks from Iran-backed proxies in the Middle East. On Thursday, U.S. forces killed the leader of a terrorist group in Iraq, targeting American personnel in the Middle East. Austin, along with the president, approved the strike. Before his hospitalization, said the senior Dodd official, There is no standard protocol for when to announce a defense secretary's hospitalization or temporary inability to do the job, said Brad Carson, formerly Undersecretary and Chief Management Officer of the Army. Though he added it could depend on the severity of Austin's condition. If Austin were incapacitated, Congress would surely want to know. But if he were still capable of making decisions, even under a doctor's supervision, I don't think Congress has to be notified in such cases. Still, when General Eric Smith, Commandant of the Marine Corps, was hospitalized after a heart attack, October 29, for example, Dodd put out a statement within hours. It is so out of character for Dodd and clearly was made after a deliberate discussion of how this information should be handled, said Arnold Panaro, a retired Marine Corps Major General and former staff director of the Senate Armed Services Committee.